the something we will talk about later, inshallah, is the strength of the letter, because that's also important. For example, the confusion between the ta here and the ta. Ta and ta. So the ta is a full letter, the ta is a little bit softened letter, so there is a difference between the two. Again, that's a source of confusion sometimes. So we go through qaf, kaf, lam, mim, noon, ha, waw, and finally ya. The hamza is important because it has certain rules in Tajweed. But in the classical Arabic, when it is not related to the Quran, they would add the hamza to the alif. They combine them together. But because of the Tajweed, there is a difference between the two. Any question about this so far?
You just pronounce the last line again.
Qaf,
Qaf,
kaf,
kaf,
lam,
lam,
mim,
mim,
noon,
noon,
ha,
ha,
waw,
waw,
ya,
ya,
and then the last one is the hamza,
hamza,
which is the sign that's put on the alif sometimes.
lam.
One question here.
Yeah.
So, the Quranic Arabic and the common Arabic which Arab people speak, is it same or is there?
No, absolutely not. You know, the Arabic that we speak in Egypt or in Syria or in Lebanon has nothing to do with the Quranic Arabic.
Okay.
Most of the time.
Okay.
Because it's a colloquial Arabic and it is culturally designed.
Okay.
So, you know, you might have somebody from Libya talking about completely different thing when it comes to Egyptians, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, after every 40 miles, the cultural
But
language changes.
Egyptian, they say Gidda, they don't say Jidda. Jim, they
For
don't
example,
pronounce.
yeah, that's a good
But
example.
in the prayer, they Jim, the
When
Jim,
we have to do the G.
but in the talking, local language, they Gim, Hug,
Exactly.
Huggy, they
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
So that is the language speaking.
That's right. That's what
Not
I'm
the
saying.
Quranic.
You know, it is. We don't speak the Arabic
Only
language.
the Egyptians they do. Other people, Jim is perfect.
Well, not necessarily. You know, it is. If you go to the Gulf area, they mix the qaf with the jim. You know, so there are always different things, you know, in different countries. So but here we are talking about the Quranic Arabic. We are not talking about the colloquial Arabic.
Put the camera on this side so that that is also visible in the recording.
Pardon me?
Yes, I'm coming.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so these are the letters. Now, these are separate letters. If you want to see them in a word, then you have to we have to do something else. Oh, this is. That's the largest I can get. So there are three positions for each letter. It's either in the beginning of a word, or the middle of a word, or at the end of the word. Most of the letters are like that. They have these three positions, except for the alif and the waw. The waw, well, let's see the alif first. The alif first, it never is never connected afterwards. So here, you can see the alif can be connected at the end of the word, but in the beginning of the word, it is not connected. It would be separate. So it would be connected from the right side only. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. For the waw, it is the opposite. Here, the waw, well, it's the same actually, not the opposite, I'm sorry. So the waw can appear at the end of the word connected to the letter before it.
Right.
But if it is in the beginning of the word, then it cannot be connected with the letter afterwards. So these are the two exceptions. The other ones can be connected from both sides. So these are you see here, the ba can be connected with the letter before it, or the two letters before it and after it, or the letter after it. And all of them are like that. Except for the waw. The waw can be connected only to the letter before it, but not to the letter afterwards. So these are the rules of when you write these words. Any other question about the letters?
No.
Before we move to something else? As we will see later on, the alif, the waw, and the ya will be a little bit.
That's okay.
Huh?
He's talking about participants, that's fine.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to join, so.
मेरी screen पे नहीं आ रहा है।
So these are the huruf al-mad, as we will talk about later on. When they appear, you have to elongate the word a little bit. So, but that's
not a big thing, but in case of alif, sometime when we write law,
yeah,
lam alif la,
yeah,
so alif is connected with lam, right, in the way it is slanted.
yes,
And it's not kind of mentioned here, but that's, I think, the only exception. When you write law, it's sometimes little.
well, the la
yeah.
comes before the alif.
Like
the
alif
alif.
comes, after lam.
No, the alif, if
La,
Alif Lam.
lam alif la.
Yeah.
that's right, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but that's the only exception. Other than that, it's.
No, but wait a minute.
You can write it like this as well. Like you can write it as a, alone as well, lam and alif.
Yeah,
But usually it is combined with the lam. Like
yeah,
alif is usually combined when you're writing it as a la.
yeah, but
La ikra fi din, like.
la ikrah fi din. You
Yeah.
see, the lam will be here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But it is not connected like this. It is connected the other way. But there's, I think.
No, but the lam, the alif, what we are saying
Yeah,
is that the alif can be connected only with the letter before it.
before.
It cannot be connected to the letter
Yeah.
after it, right?
Yeah,
So when you say la, there is nothing after the alif.
yeah,
So there's the same rule.
yeah.
Fine.
The way it is written,
Written is sometimes.
no, that's
That's the calligraphy.
That's the calligraphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So calligraphy is another science in the Arabic, and there are many ways of writing things, and I think this was motivated by the fact that Muslims frowned upon painting people and animals and so on. So the artistic talent of people came out through the calligraphy. So there are a large number of ways of writing the Arabic. Okay, so we are going to move to the isti'adha, and let me just say, I don't want to confuse you with this, but just as a very brief thing, that part of Tajweed is that you know where the letters are coming from. You know, each letter comes from a part of the throat or the cavity of the mouth or the tongue or the lips. And they have studied and told you where these letters are coming from, so that would help people in the proper pronunciation. We are not going to get into this. I just wanted to mention it so that we would be aware of it. Okay, so we'll start with, when we start reciting the Quran, we are usually say isti'adha, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and then bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Most people starting first with the isti'adha, which is seeking refuge with Allah from the shaitan. It is usually recommended, but most scholars are of the opinion that it is obligatory. You want to?
Yeah, make it bigger, please.
No, just press F5. No, just press the key F5. It'll automatically.
What for?
F5.
F5.
F5
On your keyboard.
on the keyboard. Function 5. Yeah.
Okay,
Top,
one sec, let me try it here.
top left. Top
No,
left.
actually, it's not there. Yeah, it's over here.
How much you want to do it?
No. The
Make
easy
it slide
way.
presentation.
You will lose control. The best way.
Just leave and do it for you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, make it.
Where's the brightness?
This thing.
No, no.
Okay, no, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, this one here.
Oh, you mean full screen?
Yeah. There you go.
Jazakallah khair. There is a verse in the Quran says, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And from that verse, scholars said that this means that it is obligatory before you start the Quran to say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. And there are several ways to say this. The first one is seek refuge with Allah from the cursed shaitan. I seek refuge with Allah from the shaitan. I seek refuge with Allah, the all-hearing, the omniscient, from the cursed shaitan. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, cursed shaitan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. any one of these is acceptable. So starting to recite the Quran is, we need to say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Now, do you say it loudly or you say it in whisper? If one is reciting in an open gathering, if we sit in a halaqah and recite Quran, then the first one who is reciting the Quran would say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. The brothers and sisters that come after him do not say that. Or if they want to say it, they say it in their whispering.
In the low voice.
In the low voice. Because, and they say this is, indicates that the recitation has not been interrupted.
Yes.
You see, if everyone says أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, that signals that this is a start of a new recitation. While if you don't say it, if you only say it once in the beginning, we all take the sawab of the recitation as a continuous recitation. If you have a celebration or a wedding or something, and you're gonna recite the Quran, then it is preferable to say it in a loud voice. And if you want to teach kids, then also you say it in a loud voice. In the prayer, you don't say it in a loud voice. You say it whispering. And as I said, if we are a group reciting the Quran and I'm not the first one, then I don't say it or I say it by whispering. And if I'm sitting alone reciting the Quran, I don't have to raise my voice with saying أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Then we talk about Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is the consensus of the scholars that we recite it as part of the Fatiha, because it is considered one of the ayat of the Surah Al-Fatiha, and in the beginning of each surah. If I'm reciting the Quran and saying, starting with the Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, Alif Lam Mim, before I say Alif Lam Mim, I say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Mim. But if I recite يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام, which is part of the Surah Al-Baqarah, but it is in the middle, I don't have to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So yeah.
When we are in the prayers and when we are reciting one surah,
Yeah,
so we will say Bismillah.
yeah.
And in the second one as well, like when in the second.
Yeah, each time you recite a surah, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Right, okay.
But, for example, if I start saying, reciting a surah from the beginning, I say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then I didn't finish the whole surah, and then I went into ruku' and sujood and came up.
Yes.
I don't have, and completed the surah, I don't have to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim another time.
Yeah. But just suppose I have finished the complete surah, like I recited Surah Fatiha.
Yes,
But then when I'm reciting Surah Kausar,
yes.
do I need to say Bismillah again, or is it compulsory? Or?
No, it's not compulsory,
Yeah.
except in Surah Al-Fatiha.
Okay. Okay.
It is not compulsory except in Surah Al-Fatiha,
Okay.
but it is recommended.
Recommended. Okay.
So,
Makes sense. Thank you.
the only exception to this rule is when you recite Surah Al-Tawbah.
Tawbah. Okay. Yeah.
Surah Al-Tawbah,
There is no Bismillah.
there is no Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the beginning.
Okay. Thank you.
Because the Lord was
And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a verse in ayah in Surah Al-Naml. You know, it's when the Queen of Sheba got this letter from Sayyidina Sulaiman and said, إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So it is. So this way you can see that the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has been mentioned 114 times in the Quran. When we talk about the first one, Bism, this is actually a reduced form of, it should be Ism Allah Rahman Rahim. Yeah, it should be Alif between these two, between the Ba and the Sin. But you know, this is part of the calligraphy of the Quran. It has been removed to make it easy for people to recite it.
Okay.
But Bism here means by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the Ba is used as a letter for, you say, I start with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So that's the only comments. Now, there is some rules regarding how you start the recitation using these isti'aza, basmala, and the first verse in the surah. So on this slide here, the letter I indicates the isti'aza, indicates A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. B indicates the basmala, and V1 is the first verse in the surah.
Okay.
So there are different ways of doing it, and all of them are acceptable. You can either continue with all of them, you can separate each one of them. You say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق. So each one of them is separated from each other. Or you can say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق. The three are connected together. Or you can say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق. Or you can say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق. So all of these are acceptable depending on what you prefer.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So is it possible that you can share these slides so that we can share it with the group and with the audience?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that that will be helpful.
Yeah, well, I really didn't know how the format will be, so
Okay.
I can, and how many people will be.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can share these things, I can send them to Program
Yeah.
Mother, and
And then we will. Yeah.
he will,
Thank you.
no problem. So, in Surah At-Tawbah, there is no Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I can do this, I can say the last verse in Surah Al-Anfal, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and then براءة من الله ورسول. So I can connect the three or separate the three and so on, without Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so
Sheikh, I have a question.
Yes.
You may qualify, mashallah. I heard from some scholars, like when you are reciting like 10th chapter,
yeah,
you are starting from previously and continuing. There is a Surah Tawbah is there.
Yeah.
Say Bismillah and Bara'atu minallah wa rasulihi, then you continue. But if you are starting, opening the Quran, you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillah, because of opening the Quran, the Quran, first A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
That's right.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You say Bismillah just for opening the Quran, not because of Tawbah. I don't know, but what is your point of view?
No, if you are, say, if you are opening the Quran to recite Surah Al-Tawbah, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bara'atan min Allahi wa rasul.
That's your point.
You don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because it is not, it's not mentioned there. And Allah Alam, what is the reason? The scholars don't really know exactly what is the reason, but that's the way it was written in the Quran by Sayyidina Uthman when he collected the Quran. And some of the scholars made the ijtihad, they say this was a surah which declared war on the mushrikeen. There is no mercy in this surah for the mushrikeen. That's why it did not start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it's a full of mercy here. That's their ijtihad. I really don't know if that's the right reason or not, but
Like when we are slaughtering the animal, we never say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Because you are slaughtering an animal, at that time you don't remind them of the mercy of Allah. Because Allah is so great, He has made him obedient to you to be slaughtered. So you say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. So same reasoning here. And for first Hizbillah, so there's only the part that's mandatory is A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah is not mandatory in that.
Then some scholars say because you are taking any good thing, you start with Bismillah. But if you continue from the first chapter, second, 9, 10, 10th chapter, then you don't say Bismillah for sure. There is no doubt. But so some scholars they differ. Some say because of the Quran you say Bismillah, opening the Quran, not because of that. Which by chance is a Surah Tawbah. That's a different story.
No.
Yeah.
well, in this case, what you do, if that's the reason, then before you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When you hold the Quran, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
That's the intention, I think.
Right?
That's the intention.
And then you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Just like coming into the mosque, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma aftah li sadri, or you make dua. Because anytime you are starting a thing, it is recommended that you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So if you are starting the Quran, reciting, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then you go to Surah Al-Tawbah, you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So still, there is no connection between Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and the first verse in Surah Al-Tawbah.
If you are just opening the
Let's-
Quran
let's
and
just
you
start,
don't
go
know
for it.
that you are going to be reciting Surah Tawbah, then you can say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. But if you are intentionally going there to recite Surah Tawbah, then shouldn't be.
Never. You never.
Okay, let's move forward.
Okay.
That's clear.
All right. So, is that
That's clear.
clear, inshallah? Any questions?
I have one, but I'll ask later on because we have to go through the chapters as well. So I'm just keeping my question for the later time, probably.
No, today or later?
Not just today, but maybe when we'll cover up some because.
Well, I've finished that part here.
Okay, you've all finished. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
So my question is about in the salah, when the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we know that we have to start it with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. But is it necessary to do it jahri or sirri? Like, does it make a difference or no?
Well, this came up in when you are praying. There are scholars which say you don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim loudly, especially for the Fatiha too. You have seen many imams. The imam would start Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. But he has said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim,
That's not,
in a low voice.
that's mandatory.
Choice, it is a choice. He can, he may not.
Well, there is a difference of opinion.
There are different
Some scholars say you have to say it loudly, and some scholars say you should not say it loudly. And there is evidence from the Prophet ﷺ that sometimes he did this and sometimes he did that. So you don't do it consistently by not saying it loudly, and you don't do it consistently by not saying it loudly. So that you would get follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. Well, I
Finished for
I want to stop here today.
Oh, sure.
Not
So,
making it.
Very
Yes.
quick question again.
Yeah.
So there is no wrong or there is no wrong, like what we have 4 ways of starting
Yes.
of recitation,
Yeah.
but which one is more used or which is more common or which one is recommended?
First one.
First one? Or what do you,
Well, there is no really a fast rule regarding this.
Okay.
It is when there is no strict rule, then it is up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable with, then you do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank everybody.
Thank everybody and let's
Yeah. So, whoever is joining us online, thank you so much. We are done with today's lecture.